Yes, recording's in progress. We're listening to Enya. Enya used to be part of Clannad, which went from being really good Gaelic Celtic folk to being Celtic rock. Did some amazing Celtic rock stuff. I don't even know if Clannad is still around. I don't know if Enya's still around. Be that as it may. I'm going to talk about call response today. Call response is something that comes out of animal studies, behavioral studies. Now in the wild, oh, by the way, that's something I actually wrote about in my last newsletter. If you're not getting my newsletters, sign up. I'll include a link, and I'll give you a link to the last newsletter where I talk about it. Excuse me. Call response in the wild. You've heard it. You may not have recognized what it was. When you hear a wolf howling and off distance away, there's another wolf that responds. That's a call and a response. When you hear birds at the beginning of the season doing their territorial song, and another bird sings, and this bird sings, and that bird sings, that's call response. Mating calls are call response. Humans, not to be outdone by anything in the wild, also have call response. We do it a number of ways. One of the ways that call response occurs is you reach out and touch your significant other or someone you'd like to have as your significant other. Hopefully they realize that. And they respond with an equal touch as opposed to, get away, don't touch me, bad, evil. So that's also a call response, probably not the one you actually wanted. Call response behavior. When you are, the way most often you will see this is you and your partner are sitting together side by side somewhere in the same room or within sound location of each other. And one of you will be reading on your tablet, on your phone, God forbid, in a book, and you go, wow. And your partner goes, what was that? That's call and response. That's interesting. That's the call. What was that? You just saw. That's the response. The reason this is significant because whether it's in the wild, I'm looking at a bunch of turkeys in my yard now, or here in human behavior, same thing. You're looking for some kind of recognition signal that above everything else says you're okay, you're accepted, I know who you are, I'm glad you're here, thank you, welcome. When in the wild, when you have those mating calls, that's obviously, I like you, come on back, let's have a good time. Got a frog in my throat today. Hang on a second. Actually, drinking something does very little to help the sound of your throat, of your voice, because what it does is it clears mucus from the throat passage, not from the larynx. Anyway, I said anything. Oh, goddamn. Call response. So in the wild, that's how it works. In our daily lives, that's how it works. It's all over the place. Currently, we have an idiot who's waging war in Iran. That's a call. Iran is responding. That's a response. Must be political, huh? By the time this video shows up on some services, that may not be going on, I hope. Let's not have this drag out like Russia and Ukraine. Call response in dialogue. You can show it in a story by the gentle touch or the brush away. or the response. Okay, that's the one way you can do call response. And what you're actually doing is showing the relationship. You're showing two people in relationship. They can either be harmonious relationship or in conflict, and that's how you would show it. In dialogue, you have that same type of thing. Remember, I said that you read to say something and you go, that's interesting. What was that? What did you see? The thing is, if when you say that, when you have that response to something you're looking at, and the other person doesn't respond, doesn't give you the response cue that you want, most people will up the ante. They will go, "Did you know? Let me share this with you." Oh, what? What is it? We're going to up the ante until we get some kind of response. Because even if it's a negative response, even if it's a get away from me, we're getting something. We're getting some kind of response. We're getting some kind of attention. Much like the neglected child will just keep on acting out more and more and more and more until they get something, because any kind of attention is better than no attention. Call response. Share an anecdote with you. I was a sophomore in high school, long time ago. And Mrs. Baraniak, the English teacher, seemed to favor me. I don't know why. And because she favored me, calling upon me, laughing at my jokes, my witticisms, such as they were, gently correcting me when I made mistakes in pronunciation, I took liberties. I walked freely. I didn't raise my hand. Mind if I go to the bookshelf? Mind if I do this? One day, I was at the bookshelf, and I picked up a book that I did not recognize the title of, and I said, and Mrs. Brainiac was at her desk. She wasn't actively teaching, and I said, "Mrs. Brainiac," no response. "Mrs. Brainiac," no response. "Mrs. Brainiac," no response. "Mrs. Brainiac." That's basically what I did. I was upping the ante. What Mrs. Brainiac did was put her fist down on the table and said, "Joseph, I am trying deliberately, I know, Joseph, I am trying very hard to ignore you." This was a radical shift in the dynamic that had been established. But it was a response. So I responded with what I thought was fair. I said, "Oh, you could have just said you didn't want me to bother you." God forbid we actually interact with language like that, especially if you're an English teacher. Call response in dialogue. What I just demonstrated with Mrs. Baraniak is an example in dialogue of call response. It is an example of growing escalation of conflict in dialogue, but it's still call response. You can have call response where the two people are talking to each other, but not syncing what they're saying. Give you an example. This I use something I use a lot. Person A asks a question. Instead of answering the question, person B asks a question about the question or about something else which they know person A was doing. Okay? Person A does not answer person B. They ask another question. And you have these growing questions, which, of course, are either getting further and further apart or closer and closer together. If at some point they merge, you have a conversation going on, and hopefully they'll begin answering each other. If they grow further and further apart, you have a conflict developing. You have tension mounting because the reader knows they're going further and further apart. What the hell is going to happen? Who's going to explode first? Or if they're getting closer and closer together, we're going to get an answer here. Okay, hang on, we're going to get an answer. Readers will continue reading, provided everything else works well in the story, because they want to get the answer to a bunch of questions, or because they love conflict. They love a car wreck. They want to know what's going to happen, who's going to survive this one. That's call response behavior in dialogue and in a story demonstrated through the acts of the characters. I find it to be a really great tool. Of course, I've studied a lot of animal behavior, so I'm familiar with it. Someday, there'll be something I haven't studied. I don't know when, but there's a lot of stuff I haven't studied. I'm telling you. How to make white chocolate cheesecake. Susan makes an incredible white chocolate cheesecake. I don't know how, but ask me how to make a good Southern Italian Galabrin pasta sauce. I'm there for you. I got you covered. Call response behavior. You want to have the characters, no matter how many there are, you want to have them talking and responding to each other in some way, even if there's no action, even if everything you're doing is pure dialogue, which I've covered in a previous um, experiment. I'll put a link to that one. What you want is there to be some kind of energy going back and forth. It can be growing hostility, it can be growing passion, whatever. Make it interesting by doing call response. Call response. Hope that helps you. Take care. The button's right there. I got it. Take care, buddies.